Carnarvon, a coastal town some 900 kilometres north of Perth, Western Australia. These days it's a sleepy country town where the fishing is great and the atmosphere is always relaxed. But the scene is being set for Carnarvon's biggest event in over 40 years. The visit by former American astronaut Buzz Aldrin to officially open the new Carnarvon Space and Technology Museum.
The whole idea of this museum is to try and get people to stay in Carnarvon a little longer. So this big truck says NASA on the side of it, and what we're trying to do is it's another display.
Over 12 months of planning has gone into this event, but the cleaning, creating and completing of displays at the museum is just part of the last-minute rush by the small group of volunteers.
It's a great moment. It's all abuzz in town because Dr. Buzz Aldrin is arriving imminently. He is coming to open up our brand new Space Museum. It's fantastic that Buzz is coming to town because this reaffirms the links that we have with the space mission. Of course, as you know, way back on the 21st of July, 1969, Buzz Aldrin, along with Neil Armstrong, walked on the moon while Michael Collins stayed up in that capsule, rotating, orbiting around, waiting for the men to return. And of course, the Sugar Scoop, one of the original dishes up at Carnarvon, played a very, very important role, a pivotal role in that mission. So it's wonderful to see the links that are being made again with this, the historical note, the fact that community members have got together to ensure that this museum is up and running and there for future generations and everyone to enjoy. Thank you.
We arrived here more or less in 1966 to about 1979, and we were involved in the lunar, the Gemini and the Apollo manned lunar landing exercises that went on from here, from the tracking station on Browns Range. And I was what they used to call a Comtech. And the air to ground or the air to spacecraft and spacecraft to ground communications via radio would come down through into my little room where I had receivers and switching gear and whatever.
And a camp bed.
And a camp bed for long missions. And so I would make sure all the voice was coming in and the air to ground links were performing as they should. And I was also the interface between the flight controls back in Houston. If anything went wrong and they wanted to just do a direct path through Carnarvon to the spacecraft, and they could call on me to have a direct call through.
An optical telescope that used to take photographs of the sun every 10 seconds, and we used to develop it, and then the physicists used to come along and measure all the explosions on it and the equators on it. And they predicted that every 11 years that there would be massive sunspots and disruption to all electronic traffic in the Earth's atmosphere.
Finally, the moment had arrived. As the plane taxied up to the terminal at Carnarvon, the crowd, made up of 200 schoolchildren, former tracking station staff, locals and tourists alike, became excited at seeing for the first time a real space hero. Welcomed by the Shire President Carl Brandenburg, along with local dignitaries, Buzz and his party had a small taste of a true Western Australian welcome. The flags were waving, the crowds cheered. It was time to begin 2 days of festivities.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm John McCloy, I'm your MC for this afternoon. I'd like to especially welcome everybody here. It's a memorable day for Carnarvon, but I would especially today like to welcome the Honourable Vince Catania, MLA, Wendy Duncan, MLC, Shire President Carl Brandenburg, Deputy President Neil Ganser, Councillors Naomi McMahon, Julie Nelson and Melissa Gibbings, as well as Shire President Mr Morris Batalana. And it is fabulous to see so many people here this afternoon to welcome our very special guests. Welcome also to all the school children who are here, and guys, this is going to be a fabulous day for you. But to commence the proceedings, the Welcome to Country will be presented by Ms Merle Dan.
Welcome to Country is part of Aboriginal culture for generations. Aboriginal groups had to clear boundaries in Yallara when meetings took place like this today to welcome other groups into our country. Welcome to Country enables traditional custodians to give their blessings I would like now to take this opportunity to welcome each one of you into Ingada Yallara in Quinwaroo. I wish that Dr. Blas Alwyn and other visitors enjoy this event here today in Quinwaroo, and the Ingada people will bless them, and I hope that they enjoy our country, and our ancestors will watch over you and care for you in your journey and your travel here throughout today and the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Merle. This is a day when we are thrilled to welcome a man who has figured prominently in the history of the world and with whom Carnarvon can be very proudly associated, Dr. Buzz Aldrin. I would like to ask our Shire President, Carl Brandenburg, to officially welcome Buzz to Carnarvon and to present to him the key to Carnarvon.
A special welcome to Dr. Buzz Aldrin, Mrs. Cecilian, Michael and Mrs. Cope. The Honourable Brendan Grills, Honourable Vince Catania and Honourable Wendy Duncan. Thank you for your presence today too, Wendy. Bruce Teed, Terry Cale, Tom Day and Wally Dale. In honour of your visit, it is with great pleasure that I ask you to step forward and receive the keys to Carnarvon. It is the first anyone can recall ever being offered to a visitor, and we hope it conveys to you just how much we appreciate your presence. You'll always be welcome in our town and hope your stay is very memorable. Debbie?
The key that is presented to Dr. Buzz Aldrin contains a scroll with the following wording. This key entitles the bearer, Dr. Buzz Aldrin, to the freedom of the Shire of Carnarvon. It is a direct symbol of our community's intention that the recipient is as free to come and go at will. Our homes may be considered yours. Our waters are for you to sail on, and our winds will always blow gentle on your face. May you and yours return, and may it always be a homecoming. Declared on this day, Friday the 22nd of June in the year 2012. It is signed by Carl Brandenburg, Shire President.
I hope you all can see the beauty of this key that opens the hearts of visitors. And I would like to, on behalf of all the visitors that come to Carnarvon, give them my welcome just the way that you've given a welcome to me. It's like 50 years ago that I first heard the name Carnarvon. It was when John Glenn was making his first orbital flight of the Earth. John Glenn was not a real stranger to me. I had met him when I was just out of school and learned how to fly, and I met him during the Korean War. I was pretty young then, only 23. I noticed that I've got a nice blue jacket on and I've got a red scarf in honor of the schools that are suited up in blue and red, and then we'll combine the two colors, and of course we'll end up with crimson. I want to introduce to you my son. He's holding his hand up there. He comes from Honolulu. My partner, Michelle, and she has the pink scarf on. And my mission director, Christina, she's holding the flowers right now and holds up many of the activities that I'm involved in. Now, I have spent over half of my life in Western America, also in California. So I'm used to the wonderful sunshine that you have, and I look forward to visiting a very important location in the world. Thanks to some scientists who came before us, Isaac Newton, Copernicus, and Kepler, They defined what orbits were around the Earth. And if you launch into an orbit in the northern hemisphere, guess what? You're going to end up in the southern hemisphere halfway around your orbit. And since we launched from Florida, we came halfway around the Earth. We needed a tracking station down here in the southern hemisphere. Fortunately, the wonderful country of Australia obliged and gave us Western Australia with a wonderful location of Carnarvon. When we go into space, we usually go in the low point of the orbit, and the high point is on the other side. And so at the high point of our orbit, we're usually over Carnarvon. And that's when we apply a little bit of extra power so that we stay at that altitude. And it's also places like Carnarvon that give the last-minute instructions of when to fire the retro rockets so that we can land in the northern hemisphere in the Atlantic Ocean or in the Pacific Ocean. And of the people who have worked here a good number of years ago, people were working here during the Skylab last missions before the space shuttle, when we began to track satellites from higher satellites instead of on the surface. That was an unfortunate occurrence for Carnarvon because we didn't need the tracking stations here on the Earth. But who knows? There comes a rejuvenated time, and maybe I'm here to help applaud the revival of Carnarvon. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Dr. Aldrin, and we are very, very proud to have you in Carnarvon for the reasons that you have been mentioning, the role that Carnarvon played in the space program. And wonderful to have your family and partner with us also. Thank you very much for your attendance.